But before the night was over, he realized something inside the house was watching him too. The boy stopped drawing, stared into the dark hallway behind Emily, and whispered, "He's coming again." This story begins with Emily Carter, a student living in West London. She worked part-time as a babysitter to pay rent while finishing college. Most of her jobs were simple: feed the kids, watch cartoons, put them to sleep. Nothing unusual. But on a cold November evening, Emily received a message from an unknown number. The job was in Hampstead. One child, from 8 p.m. until midnight, £500 cash, for only 4 hours. Something about it felt strange immediately. The family refused to do a video call. The mother only texted, short answers, cold answers. And when Emily asked why the payment was so high, the woman replied, "Our daughter gets anxious at night." That was it, nothing more. Emily almost declined, but London rent had doubled that month, and she needed the money. So at 7:40 p.m., she arrived at the address. The house stood alone near the edge of a quiet street. Tall, Victorian, dark windows, no lights except one on the second floor. The father opened the door before she knocked, and the first thing Emily noticed was how exhausted he looked. Not tired, terrified. Inside the house, everything felt unnaturally quiet. No television, no music, no sounds from outside, only the ticking of an old clock somewhere upstairs. The mother greeted Emily briefly. Her voice trembled slightly. Then she introduced her daughter, Sophie, 6 years old, small, pale, quiet, too quiet. The little girl barely looked at Emily. She just stared toward the hallway behind her, as if someone was standing there. The mother knelt beside Sophie, then whispered softly, "Remember what we talked about?" Sophie nodded slowly. A few minutes later, the parents left, and Emily was alone with the child. For the first hour, everything seemed normal. Sophie colored quietly in the living room while Emily scrolled through her phone. But at exactly 9:13 p.m., Sophie suddenly stopped drawing. Her face became pale. Then she looked toward the dark hallway and smiled. Not a happy smile, a nervous smile. Then she whispered, "He's here again." Emily looked up. The hallway was empty. Emily forced herself to laugh. She assumed Sophie had an imaginary friend. Children did things like that. But then Sophie said something strange. He doesn't like when people look at him. Emily felt a cold sensation move through her chest. She asked Sophie who she was talking about. The girl pointed toward the hallway, then quietly replied, "The man with no eyes." Silence filled the house. Emily stood up slowly. Every instinct told her not to walk toward the hallway. But she did, step by step. The wooden floor creaked beneath her feet. The hallway was empty, but halfway down, she noticed something. A small wet footprint, then another, leading toward the basement door. Emily stopped breathing for a second. The basement door was slightly open, and from inside she heard movement. Slow movement, like someone dragging something across the floor. Emily grabbed her phone immediately. No signal, no internet, nothing. Then the basement noise stopped completely. And from behind her, Sophie whispered, "You made him angry." Emily grabbed Sophie and locked both of them inside the living room. She called the parents again. Still nothing. Then the house lights flickered once, twice, 3 times, and went out completely. The entire house disappeared into darkness. Sophie began crying quietly, not screaming, just crying softly, like she already knew what was happening. Then a sound echoed upstairs. Footsteps, slow, heavy, walking across the second floor. Emily froze. The parents weren't home yet, and nobody else should have been inside the house. Then Sophie whispered something that made Emily's blood run cold. "He usually watches from the stairs first." Emily turned slowly toward the doorway, and there, standing motionless in the darkness, was a tall silhouette. Too tall, unnaturally tall, its head tilted slightly sideways. Watching them, not moving, Emily slammed the door shut instantly, then pushed a cabinet against it. The figure never tried to force the door open. It just stood there, silent, listening. Then suddenly, the old television turned on by itself. Static filled the screen, and after a few seconds, a video appeared. Black and white footage. Inside the same house, the same hallway, the same staircase. But the footage was old, very old, and standing at the top of the stairs was the same tall figure, watching the camera, motionless. At 11:47 p.m., the parents finally returned home. Emily rushed outside with Sophie immediately, panicking, crying, trying to explain everything she saw. But strangely, the parents didn't look surprised, not even shocked. The father just stared silently toward the second-floor window. Then the mother said something Emily would never forget. It only appears when Sophie sees it first. Emily demanded answers. And finally, the father confessed. Years ago,